Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to our House of Representatives from government sides and to opposition sides. So, I'll be the first speaker on behalf of the government. So, we're going to talk about this House belief that governance system is good under Najib Razak. So, before I start, let's start with introduction. Who is Najib Razak? Okay, so Najib Razak is the 6th Prime Minister of Malaysia. He started as a Prime Minister on the 3rd April 2009. He also acted as the President of UMNO, and he is ruling under Barisan Nasional Party, a party that leads the country. So he is the eldest son in his family. He is elected into the Malaysian Parliament in 1976 at the age of 23 after replacing his father's death in the vacant seat at Pahang. So he's graduated in the University of Nottingham of Bachelor in Industrial Economy. So our Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Tun Abdul Razak announced the government's plan to develop a new economic model that will speed Malaysia's transition to a high-income country in 2009. This plan will emphasize ways to increase the income and productivity of workers by encouraging knowledge industries and increasing investment from overseas. The main goals is to transform the Malaysian economy to become one with high incomes and quality growth by 2020. Moreover, he also introduced the Goods and Service Tax, GST, in the purpose to replace the Sales and Service Tax. One of the objectives is to reduce the fiscal deficit by the implementation of GST, as the government revenue will be increased from the collection of GST tax. Some benefits is the standard living of Malaysian consumers and business can be improved as the government can have more funds to use for the country development purpose in social infrastructure such as health facilities, education and public facilities due to increment of revenue from the collection of Goods and Service Tax, GST. Furthermore, he also introduced the Klang Valley Mass Rapid Transit Project, the MRT project, that covers a 51-kilometer stretch within the Klang Valley from Sungai Buloh to Kajang. It will begin the first operation on the first phase in 2017. Some of the advantages of MRT is to reducing the traffic congestion in the city, able to reduce the accident rates. There will be a lot of economic activities exist, among them as short and long-term investment and creating employment opportunities to people in the surrounding and other areas. It's also reduced unemployment because of job opportunity. It also saves in fuel cost and maintenance of their vehicle if they're using this new public transport. So, last but not least, he also introduced the One Nation People's Aid, BRIM, to give aids in terms of cash to the societies, to the household whose income below 3,000 ringgit. for a single person, they will get 500 ringgit cash in order to help to cover their expenses. So he introduced the One Malaysia housing program, or Perumahan Satu Malaysia, PRIMA. It is a housing development program in Malaysia. It was launched on 4 July 2011. One of the objectives is to develop affordable housing for the middle income group in the key urban centers in Malaysia. The middle income group between the 2,500 ringgit per month until 7,000 ringgit per month. One of the reasons of this project is to help them to manage the cost of living in urban areas and to increase their chances of owning a home at a less price compared to buy the private company selling houses at an unreasonable price, the high price.
And I'm representing the position in this debate. Mr. Alif portrayed the positive side of the government. I disagree with him on two issues. First, I will draw the attention of my government members on the famous 1MDB scandal. Mr. Alif said that our Prime Minister announced to develop a new economic model which will increase the income and productivity of the workers, and it will encourage foreign investment in the country. It will help in the development of the country. On the one hand, you're talking about the economic plan, collecting GST and helping citizens with low income. And on the other hand, we see the name of the son of the Prime Minister in Panama Papers. Wall Street Journal published an article about Prime Minister's stepson's property in London, that it has been bought by the funds from 1MDB. What's the government response to these issues? What is the progress of the investigation? My second question from the members of the government is that Malaysia practices constitutional monarchy and parliamentary democracy, but our Prime Minister dismissed his Deputy Prime Minister and few ministers because they raised questions about 1MDB scandal. Is that how you treat your cabinet members under democracy? My dear government members, that's not democracy. There is a term used for this type of governance. In a democratic country, every citizen has a right to express his thoughts, his feelings. He can raise questions if he is not satisfied with the decisions of the government. Asking questions from the leader doesn't destabilize the government. As a opposition member, I'd like to hear a logical answer that what was the reason of the reshuffling of the cabinet members. I believe that these type of controversies will create a negative image of the country. Foreign investors will avoid investing in Malaysia if government fails to do fair investigations over corruption allegations. Not only foreign investors, local investors will make moves to take their money out of the country. Allegations of corruption, banning newspapers, dismissing Deputy Prime Minister and cabinet members will not help Malaysia to attract brains of the world to the country. Freedom of speech is the basic right, and every leader should respect his critics, because critics raise questions which allow government to study their decisions. That's how democratic countries run their affairs. Earlier, we have seen that Prime Minister of Iceland stepped down from his post over the allegation of Panama Papers. We saw the name of UK's Prime Ministers linked in Panama Papers. Soon, he came up with the tax data of the last 6 years. That's the beauty of democracy, my fellow government members, that office holders are answerable to the nation. Thank you very much.
I'm Salim Salamun. Our Prime Minister Najib Razak has denied taking any money from the state fund or any other entity for personal gain. And on he said he had referred wild allegations against him to a lawyer and will decide to any legal steps in a few days. And the only money came to Prime Minister Najib Razak is from Saudi Arabia, that, as you said, $681 million. Deposited in his personal account in 2013 was a Saudi donation. And the Saudi royal family representative, Mr. Jawapir said, "We are aware of the donation and it's a genuine donation with nothing expected in return." The Prime Minister said, "If I want to steal, I would not make sense that I would place the money into accounts in Malaysia." And he told reporters as well. Surely as a Prime Minister, he would not betray Malaysians and property and that belongs to Malaysia. That's what he promised. Commenting on what Wall Street Journal reported, Dr. Najib Razak said to Reuters, "We would have asked the police to investigate the Wall Street Journal assertion that billions were deposited in Najib's personal account and take necessary actions." The opposition has taken the issue of the Saudi donation pretext to obstructing the work of the government and to stop the Prime Minister, and they're asking for disqualification him. And this action contributes to the decline of the level of development and makes the life of the Malaysian citizen more complicated and difficult. Your question about Najib Razak's stepson is irrelevant because we are here to discuss about the governance system in Malaysia under Najib Razak. And as a government representative, I reject that to answer. As this debating, we should talk about the governance system under Prime Minister Najib Razak. Najib's government spent hundreds of millions of dollars on financial handouts of students, low-income families, and government employees in his first 2 years in his office. He also intensified efforts to win back support by abolishing security laws that were widely considered regressive. There was some relaxation in rules that stipulate ethnic Malays must own 30% of certain business. These moves were made in such a way as to avoid antagonizing Malays. According to Malaysian government, under Najib premiership, Malaysia has embarked on a journey of transformation within Malaysia multi-racial, multi-religious context. The cornerstone in his One Malaysia initiative, which emphasizes a national entity, Najib, has also launched a government transformation program to improve the quality of public services, increase efficiency, and make government more transparent. The program sets key performance indicators to measure the performance of officials and agencies, and national key result areas to define goals for specific areas of public policy. He also introduced a new cabinet position to support the unity and performance mainstream in implementing the KPI systems. Also, Prime Minister Najib Razak made the new economic model. The goal of Malaysian new economic model, unveiled by Prime Minister Najib Razak in 2010, to raise Malaysia from middle-income nation to high-income nation, by raising per capita income from to 15,000 by 2015, from 7 in 2010, as well as maintaining a growth rate of 6% a year. Thank you.
Thank you. I respect your position. And where is it debatable of the One Malaysia Development Berhad scandal? Is it legal contribution or is it illegal corruption case? But what is not debatable is the reaction of Najib Razak to the corruption accusation. And as we know, the Najib reaction was in tightening the grip on power by replacing the Deputy Prime Minister, suspending 2 newspapers, and pushing through Parliament a controversial National Security Council bill that provides Prime Minister unprecedented powers. Speaking of National Security Council bill specifically, this bill grants the Prime Minister such powers as I quote, the clause 18 of the bill. Prime Minister has full discretion to decide where security area is. The clause 22 to 23. Security forces can arrest without warrant, stop and search premise, take possession of any land, building or movable property without a warrant. Clause 37. All National Security Council's affairs are done in absolute secrecy. And my favorite one, clause 38. No action or lawsuit can be brought against the National Security Council. In other words, security forces can go in and take temporary possession of any land, any building or part of the building, or any movable property, use necessary force undefined in the bill and may actually allow torture, and arrest without warrant, and therefore such bill violates fundamental human rights. Such security force, upon being exercised, conflicts with fundamental idea of democracy, that all people are equal in the face of law. The National Security Council bill puts authorities above the law. National Security Council bill is presented as the way to strengthen the government's ability to address this threats of violent extremism. But in opinion of all critics and opposition, including myself, Ministry, the bill is controversial and undermines principles of democracy, human rights, and provides Prime Minister with authoritative powers, because the bill allows Prime Minister to seek advice from other 7 members of National Security Council, but disturbingly can ignore it. Other members of National Security Council are the Deputy Prime Minister, the Minister of Charge of Defense, Home Affairs and Communications, the Chief Security to the Government, and the Chief of Armed Forces. The National Security Bill, upon being the law, affects 30 million Malaysians, but nonetheless it took just 6 hours to debate this bill. In December 1st, when the Prime Minister's Department tabled it shortly after downloading the draft on December 2nd, the Parliament passed it already on December 3rd. Overall, it took only 3 days for Parliament to approve the bill. Such constraint provided no opportunity for general public to study the bill. Such designed public unawareness may question the democratic rights of citizens to participate into the making of law. The National Security Council bill gains increasing opposition, such as campaign called Teknak Diktator. Not only that, but everyone can sign the petition against the National Security Council bill at change.org. The second point, that Najib Razak's unique position as the Prime Minister and Finance Minister at the same time brings conflict of interest. There is nothing in federal constitution which prohibits an individual from holding both the Prime Minister's position and Finance Minister's position, full-time jobs at the same time. Such unique position concerns on conflict of interest, potential abuse of power, and needs for checks and balances. Such accepted practice should be redebated due to One Malaysia's Development Berhad scandal, because One Malaysia Development Berhad wholly owned by the Ministry of Finance. Such conflict of interest may result in power abuse, where Najib Razak uses his authority at Ministry of Finance to use public money as personal gain through money laundering, financial secrecy, and upon being caught reinforces yet another power as Prime Minister to stop the investigation and any action against wrongdoing. Moreover, such double position is not only tempting for the power abuse, but also counterproductive. According to the Asia Finance Journal, Najib Razak is awarded with title as Asia's Worst Finance Minister 2016. At Najib Razak chairmanship, Malaysia faced One Malaysia Development Berhad scandal, ringgit depreciation, 24.5 billion investment withdrawal from the country, the falling export numbers, slowdown in Malaysian tourism, implementation of higher taxes, fiscal deficit increasement, and rating agencies cut the outlook on Malaysia. And this continues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anwar. Good evening to all of you. My name is Hassan Hamid Al-Samayeji. As you have heard from Anwar, a member of the opposition team, I would like to clarify and fix some information or misleading information that's been given out by our friend Anwar. Let's start with the One Malaysia, or known for us Malaysians as Satu Malaysia. One Malaysia is an ongoing campaign introduced by our Prime Minister Najib Razak in September 2008, calling for cabinet, government agencies and civil servants to emphasize ethnic harmony, national unity and efficient governance. The 8 values of One Malaysia, as articulated by our Prime Minister Najib Razak, are perseverance, a culture of excellence, acceptance, loyalty, education, humanity, and integrity. The first One Malaysia's People Aid, Berhad Ringgit, 1 million project was a scheme devised by Najib himself, Razak, to help those poor Malaysians that are suffering. The amount of Malaysian Ringgit 500 was given to households with an income of less than 3,000 per month. The second 1 million Ringgit project, or also known as BR1M 2.0, was launched in February 2013, and more than 2.5 billion ringgit distributed to Malaysians nationwide. This will affect 5.7 million households all over the country. In addition, the RM500 for household, the government has also allocated another RM200 ringgit to single individuals. Those who have received the 500 from the first 1 million project need not to apply, as it will be automatically proceeded. Going to our second point, which is Najib's economic transformation program. Prime Minister Najib Razak unveiled a so-called economic transformation program aimed at helping the countries achieve its long-held target of achieving developed nation status by 2020. Najib's economic transformation program is a series of projects and policies, measures intended to accelerate the country's economic growth. The government has also taken steps to liberalize some services subsectors. The Najib administration also is continuing efforts to boost domestic demands and reduce the economy's dependence on exports. In June 2011, Najib announced 9 new initiatives under the Economic Transformation Program's ETP, an ambitious 444 billion program that aims to push Malaysians into high income status by 2020. The projects are addition to 6 projects announced recently, which includes a refinery and pro-chemical integrity development, and are planned by a total of 2.7 billion ringgit in investment. Gross national income impact of RM 18.67 billion, and create 36,595 jobs in 2010 previously. Combined, the 15 projects within 7 nations, key economic areas, will account from about Malaysian ringgit 63.38 billion in investment, RM 66.31 billion NGNI, gross national investment, and generate another 63,531 new jobs to our Malaysian citizens.
Please
One,
go ahead.
action.
Hello everyone, hello my fellow friends. My name is Mohsen, and as you can see, I'm with the opposition. I'd like to conclude this debate by asking you guys just one question, which is why Najib Razak is still in power. As you all know of the scandal surrounding Malaysia's wealth fund, the 1MDB, and involving billions of public funds has puzzled many observers. At the center of the controversy is one key question, which is how did some 2.6 billion ringgit end up in Prime Minister Najib Razak's personal bank accounts? Another set of key questions warrant as much attention, like how is a politician who is facing a series of serious allegations still in power? Why hasn't the embattled Prime Minister stepped down and allowed due process to proceed? What happened to the democratic safeguards that were supposed to uphold transparency and accountability in Malaysia? Ironically, Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak's grip on power is now even solid than before. His dissenting deputy, Muhyiddin Yassin, was removed from cabinet last year and recently had his party position suspended. The Attorney General Abdul Ghani Patel was also removed. His replacement, Muhammad Apandi Ali, clearing Najib from any misconduct shortly after taking office. The challenge by Najib's political mentor turned critic, former Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad, has so far also been unsuccessful. The main reason why Najib still remains in power, despite his government's popularity diving to an all-time low to 23% last October, lies in Malaysia's flawed political system. Almost all power and resources are concentrated in the hands of the Prime Minister. These strengths are then abused by politicians like Najib to consolidate their position within UMNO, the main ruling party. Many democratic institutions which were established and inherited from the British political system to perform check and balances on executive power are also in a chaotic state. The judiciary, which is supposed to be independent, is clipped. The media is subject to the whims of government for their printing permits, and opposition politicians and activists risk being charged or jailed under draconian laws. Thank you very much. That's it from my side.